Volleyball fans, I'm Darren Tipton, and welcome to the VB Adrenaline Podcast. Our podcast, we will dive deep into the heart of the game, bringing you the hottest topics, prospects, and a buzz surrounding prep and college volleyball, especially the world of recruiting. In each episode, our crew will spotlight rising stars who are shaking up the national game. Plus, we will serve you the scoop on current events that have coaches and fans talking courtside. Tune in for the episodes that spotlight tomorrow's college stars, new trends in the sport, plus interviews that will keep you informed on the explosion that is volleyball in the USA. You can connect with us on social media, Instagram at vbadrenaline.com_ and Twitter at vbadrenaline. Be part of the conversation. Share your thoughts on your favorite players, prospects, and predictions by using hashtag VBAdrenaline. So grab a seat, volleyball fans, and get ready to dive into the world of spikes, sets, and serves with the VB Adrenaline Podcast. See you there.
All right, welcome everybody back. All right, hey everybody, it's Darren Tipton and flying solo tonight and back for another episode. Been gone for a few weeks as getting caught up and on some road work and some updates and updating stories and whatnot. But we are officially in the month, I guess, as we talk about all year, and the 2027s have been waiting for, waiting for and prepping for and getting excited, nervous, anxious about all year. It's where the college volleyball fans anxiously wait to see what their next generations of stars are going to be. It's June and we're off and running. And so I'm back and to talk about an episode that actually I've sat on for about 6 weeks now, and it's something I've worked on for about a year and a half. And so this week's episode is actually called The College Side of the PPV. So this is the program power values. And so 3 years ago, when we came up with the PPV system, and we're going to bring that up on your screen right now, and we'll go through this for you. But remember the PPV level grid and how we do a college-based assessment. And for the athletes is, again, it's a Division I assessment. We've been trying to ingrain in how we assess for 3 years now. We've talked about this is, first of all, these are all Division I evaluations. And we had another discussion with someone just late last week that, right, even, a score like a 62, that's a Division I evaluation, and you turn that over to an evaluation for another level, that's a much higher score on another level's evaluation. So these are still Division I evaluations. It's just different programs have athletes that score at different evaluation levels, right? And the level of athletes are normally different, and different programs normally recruit different levels of athletes. And tonight we're going to put the second part of that together, at least how I've looked at that, or looked at this and studied this, and I guess researched this the last 3 years. And actually, before I even started this on a national level, I kind of looked at what programs are recruiting what athletes. And this just all made sense to me. And I've looked at that based on what athletes are being invited to what camps, the athletes that are attending what camps, what programs are recruiting them, what awards are they getting when they go on to college? How are they performing? And it all just kind of fits based on their PPV score. Now, are you 100% right? No, you're not. But it's a basic generalization of where their score fits based on what colleges are recruiting them. All right. So I guess this is as close to scientific as I can come up with. And I felt it was a way in which college programs somewhat put their big boards together. All right. And so I'm going to go through and kind of break down what I see as the college equivalency to the PPV level grid, right? So the programs, and we're going to actually stop at the orange level and break those programs down, talk about recruiting rivalries, what I've seen over the last few years, what I see heading into 2027, as far as programs that I see competing a lot for similar athletes. If you followed me at all, you know that I'm a big rivalry guy, a college rivalry guy. And I've even followed a lot of recruiting rivalries, who recruits very similar athletes. And I get fired up for this stuff. So this is something that I've turned into somewhat of a study. So recruitology, I guess, if you will. And it may bore the heck out of you, but it really interests me. So it's going to be a podcast. And before we go there, I want to take you back into just one thing. And I will come back to our pyramid of PPV for the college level. Again, program power values is what we're talking about tonight. But I get and I've tried to explain as best that I can over the last couple of years, because I do understand that when parents or athletes see their PPV score, it doesn't equal a ranking and it doesn't make sense to them. We've tried to explain it, and I've tried to understand or explain that it's not a ranking. I've tried to explain that there is no set number of diamond level athletes. There is no set number of gold level, especially in this class. There may end up only being one athlete at the diamond level. There may end up being two. I'm looking right now at the 2025 class. There were 4 diamond level athletes, and each class differs. I don't think that you just hand out X number of 5-star recruits because you just think that 5-star is something you just give out. I think 5-star has to be earned, and 5-star should mean something. It's not just something that, okay, here's another class. We have to give out 10 5-star rankings. No, 5-star has to mean something. And to us, it means potential player of the year award. And every class is going to be different in talent level, potential to start immediately. And definitely an All-American candidate. And so we'll go through that. But with a PPV score, really, and I say this a few times, there really isn't a difference between 293 and 296. It's the fact that you're on a certain level, like a diamond level prospect or a gold level prospect, means more than 290 or 287. It's not a ranking. It really isn't a ranking. And so many times athletes have messaged all upset. Well, how come so-and-so's ahead of me? That's a day-to-day thing. And it's more about what level you're on, because we've tried to explain that many times when colleges put together their big board, okay, they're looking at a couple of athletes that are on a level. Now, the truly elite, yes, they say this is our number one. But a couple of times, and we'll talk about in some of our coverage leading up to the 15th, there's a domino effect, and you have to say, we want her, but if this happens, we really are okay with her. Okay. We talk about deadlines. Yes, we're going to give her a deadline. If she says no, we have to be okay taking her. And when they do that, they're looking at girls on the same ability or talent level. They're not saying, oh my goodness, she's ranked number 37 in the country and she's 39. We're disappointed. No, they're saying she's a gold level prospect and so is she. We have them evaluated at about the same ability or talent level. So we need to get one of the two, not she's 10th in the country and she's 18th. Coaches don't do that. Okay. We don't rank. So as I'm looking at somebody who's a 284 and a 289, that's not relative. They're gold level prospects. Okay. So when I say it doesn't matter, it really doesn't matter. It's more about the level they're on. Now, when you get down to orange and there's a bigger variety and maybe a little bit top to bottom, but I'm just explaining to you that that's really how it works a lot of times on coaches' big board is what's their ability range. And I have a little quote that I just wanted to share, and this comes from a member of Penn State staff. I get input from coaches and I appreciate their constructive criticism. And a lot of times they're like, hey, really like this, don't like this so much. And I've asked them for actually going on 4 or 5 years, coaches, this is what I'm trying to do. Is this anywhere close to how you guys recruit? Right. And one of the Penn State staff members has always given me really positive feedback and says, yeah, we see what you're doing. This is similar to how we put their board together. Now, this year, it's going to be a lot easier for them to put their board together because they're back and they're national champs. But, I've talked about a lot. Last year, their class, they had to bust their rear end the last 2 years. They weren't the Penn State that we think of now and was thought of before. They scrambled and they did a great job of putting those last 2 classes together. They really out recruited some people and really did a great job evaluating some talent. And I felt good because some of the kids they thought were a little bit under the radar. So did I. And some kids that we had evaluated a little bit higher than some other people had ranked, I guess. They did as well. And that made me feel pretty darn good, I guess, actually. And so anyways, when the coach put in words, here's so he told me. So we look at your PPV assessments. We don't my goodness, even look at specific numbers. We look at the levels you have athletes and we compare them with our notes. That is how we knew you were doing a pretty decent job, is when you matched up pretty closely with most of our board. That's the way you have to look at these things, not by specific numbers, but the level or more of a broad view. Okay. So again, I really appreciated that, those positive words, and whether it's parents or critics or my big fan in Texas, who don't really know who he is, but seems to know a lot more about setter PPVs than I do, or most of the coaches do. That's how we look at it. It's not a specific number or year. It definitely is not year to year, because it's changed a lot. And so that's how programs look at it, is they may have a couple on a level and say, yeah, we may like her a little bit more because of this, but we need to get one of these two. And so a little bit of a rant there, but I appreciate that kind of constructive criticism. Like, hey, I like how you do this on a broad basis. Again, we don't call them rankings. They're evaluations, and we look more at the color of the level than we do specific numbers. So with that being said, I want to get back to, see if we can do this here and get rid of that guy and move this guy here. Okay. And I'm going to get out of here. And so we'll go back, and I want to be able to share now our college level PPV. And I hope, coaches, this doesn't offend. I didn't mean it to. When I look at this over a couple of years, here is just kind of where I see colleges and what they're recruiting, what battles they're winning, and where they end up. All right. And so we used to talk about it as the big three. All right. And so the big two are Texas and Nebraska. And I just haven't seen anybody beat them for a recruiting battle. And unfortunately, I haven't seen them beat each other. They haven't gone head to head on anybody. And that's really weird. First of all, that they really have not recruited the same type of athletes. They've been really completely different in the type of athletes that they recruit. And it's been kind of odd. Now, maybe with Danny taking over at Nebraska, that'll change somewhat, but they have not recruited the same athletes. They have not gone head to head, except maybe a little bit on Henley Anderson. Maybe a little bit, but I can't compare that. That's a hometown kid. So I don't count that as a win for Texas and a loss for Nebraska. Like that's not a head-to-head. But so it's weird. But people just don't say no to those two. And coaches have been like, we keep pointing those two out. Like, how's that supposed to help us? Well, it's not. It's just the truth. And I guess when somebody beats them, now I will say Pitt, and we're going to talk more about them winning last year with Ayana. I don't have any official proof, but I had heard that there were some other programs at least interested. I don't know if they officially offered or how hard they went for her, but that was a huge win for Pitt last year. And that's about as close as anybody has come. I just had heard that one of the other programs had a lot of interest. So that was that. Now, Stanford is the other one. Just coaches have just said, when Stanford gets involved, we usually don't win that battle. The academic history, the on the court success, they just say that Stanford's Stanford, and that's what people tell me. And okay, the only thing I just wish they'd let their kids commit when everybody else does and take their chances with the admissions process. It's the only thing I'd wish. Let them have fun like everybody else. And I guess if they don't get admitted, they don't get admitted, but come on, don't make them wait 7 months. And it'd save us all a lot of questions from people like, hey, what's going on with X? Where's she committing to? But it's another story. So Stanford is that other school that just not many people lose to. Now, this year, that could be a little different story. All right. these two, and this change this year with Penn State winning the Natty and jumping back in there, they are up. And I'm just telling you, watch for this to be a huge class for Penn State. My prediction is Penn State or Nebraska with the number one class this year, but Penn State's back. I wrote that article earlier. They're not messing around, and they just expect to be the number one program in the country. Again, they just think that's their spot, and they're not taking back seat to anybody. And I think that's awesome for college volleyball. That's just where they think they should be. I don't think that Texas is losing the crown of number one. I just think that they're taking a much smaller class this year, and we'll talk about that later. But I don't think they're losing a crown. I just think they're going to take a smaller class. Wisconsin, we saw what they did last year. We've seen what they've done in the portal. I don't lose many either. Now, there is a young lady this year that has the attention, and this is what I get excited for. I think we may have our first big time power of the big dogs, if you will. And there's a prospect, our number one prospect in the country, and just an awesome young lady. But I think we have a battle of the superpowers finally. And we have somebody that is definitely wanted by 1, 2, 3. So we may finally have that showdown come June 15th and see who comes out on top. So for recruiting nerds like me, could be exciting. Hopefully a couple days. Hopefully it lasts a while. So we move down, okay? And we move down. So that's what we call our diamond level. That's how we recruit. These guys' list is not very long. They don't have many athletes they have to watch. So when you always hear them say, oh man, Nebraska, that was the first kid or coach to reach out to my daughter. Yeah, because they're only looking at like 10, maybe 12 girls a class. So they can project and they can go 3 or 4 classes deep, because a lot of these coaches are still working on this year. They may be just wrapping up with the 26s. So it's hard for them to go recruit 2029s when they're just wrapping up the 26s. These guys, what were they done in like 5 days last year? Easier to go recruit 2029s that way. Now we go down here, and it's gold, silver, but they're popping in to gold. And Pitt and Louisville, you want to talk, I call it the best rivalry in volleyball right now, and recruiting wise as well. And I'm not so sure. They've gone head to head on a couple recruits. They also go their own different way. But I told you with Pitt, with Ayanna Watson last year, they have gone head to head with Kentucky quite a bit. Louisville, Pitt, and Kentucky have gone after quite a few of the same athletes. They've gone head to head with Florida quite often. But these two are in it all the time. And then these 3 with Kentucky, Pitt, and Louisville have matched up a lot, especially in the 3 years that I've done this. It seems like their recruiting list is dang near exactly the same, especially 2 years ago, the class that just is getting to campus now, these 25s, amazing. But everybody's sick of me talking about how good Pitt and Louisville are at building their programs, but it's not stopping. And they just identify needs, know what they can get them on campus. But I just have a pretty good idea what Pitt's plan is, what Louisville's plan is, and they are sticking to it this year. It's going to be just as good. and you know what they can get. Their thing is just taking one from a program like this. And a lot of times, right, where we're at with college athletics is, sometimes it's not about recruiting ability, right? With everything, it's about financial sometimes. So sometimes it's outside the coach's abilities. Sometimes it's simply about money, right? And we talk about money or lack thereof. We bring up University of Kentucky, and they have done a great job of staying in there. I always put them just a step below because their classes have been just below these two the last couple of years, but they're right in there for the same athletes. Seems like they maybe get just that next pick as far as like an outside, not really a setter. They seem to always get second, third setter in a class, but Coach Skinner knows what he wants, very cognizant of what he can get, and it's kind of where they're at. USC is always an interesting case study. They're always getting prospects. They're always going to get a big name or two in a class. Interested to see what happens this year with the big California class. I mean, it's Hollywood, right? And they are always going to have a name or two. They've always had bigger classes. So interesting to see who they go for, what their plan is. I talked about it on signing day. Their 25 class, I loved it. They crushed it in the Kansas City area. And so they always bring in some Midwest kids too that, heck, you want to go out to the beach? Absolutely. So they are a class that gets involved out west where there's always going to be players. And if they start to pick from the Midwest as well, interesting to see. But they stay away from Pitt and Louisville, okay, because of the distance. So they're taking a different type of kid. Florida and the report that we just put out on vbadrenaline.com has always been more up here. Highly talked about this year in the offseason, transfers, coaching change, administration, just a lot of drama. They've always gotten athletes, but they've always had transfers. There's just always been something. It's just crazy with all of the athletes and all of the top recruiting classes they've had that I just said it, that it's been almost a decade since they've won the SEC. And almost every year they've had a better recruiting class than Kentucky. Something hasn't all been put together. So first year coach, even though he's coming back to the program, it'd just be interesting to see what happens and how that goes. If they just keep on chugging, if it takes a year to get going, or what happens. But there's always been talent at Florida. I just haven't seen in our player profile the number of high names attending the camp as I've seen before. Now, that could be a lot of things, but just what we've seen. So as we keep going, right, Kansas and Michigan State have been my teams, my picks this year. Matt Ulmer did at Oregon what Matt Ulmer and his staff did. They learned how to do it in the Big Ten at a school that didn't have great administrative support. He's going to Kansas, much better recruiting area, I think, in the Kansas City area. Plus, he's so much closer to Texas, a lot more resources. Administration's bought in. Plus, he's in the Big 12, which I think it's a lot easier to win 25 to 28 matches a year than it was in the Big 10. He's ramping up their non-conference schedule. He learned how to build a primetime program in his year in the Big 10. And I just think it all sets up for him very well. And he won at big levels while he was at Oregon. And they have their camp on Thursday. It's going to be a big camp. I just think they're set up. And my only difference, I would maybe think, between a Kansas and Michigan State is the difficulty to win in the Big Ten as opposed to the Big 12. That's the only thing. Or like a UCLA. That's the only thing. And that's why I have these guys really close, is if I'm picking there, it seems like they're both funded really well. They're both supported really well. That would be my only thing, is being able to win immediately, where it's really, really tough to climb one rung in the Big Ten, right? And I've been a Big Ten fan my whole life. Hey, Michigan State, KU, both great basketball schools. So you're going to have a great basketball ticket no matter where you go. That way, if that matters. So, but I just love their ability to move. I think they're the next possible Creighton with what they're doing. So let's move down to the red. And Michigan State, Minnesota, Texas A&M. I just see a lot of similarities with all three of these programs. One, right, Kristen comes from coaching with Keegan, Jamie, USA volleyball ties, right? They put all that time in with the national team program. Kristen put so much time in with the NTDP. If they do a lot of similar things, their relationships there, and recruiting through those programs, their strong point. So I think they're recruiting a lot of similar kids, to be honest, and those are the kids I think you want to recruit. And I think they're going to be going after a lot of athletes in the same talent pool. And right now, Michigan State is not Minnesota, but I can see them pushing to get to that level. Minnesota obviously is pushing on that big third year of Coach Cook's program, pushing to get up to where they were a couple of years ago, right? Where they're banging with Wisconsin every single year. Penn State, Nebraska every single year, and Michigan State is simply trying to get to where they're banging on Minnesota's heels every year. They're trying to catch, that staying ahead of Ohio State now that they're up there. They're USC every year. They're just trying to get that one step closer and be in that mix. But Indiana, we're going to talk about in a second. Purdue, it's just such a battle every night. But I just really see a lot of similarities because of the talent pool that these three programs, I would guess, are going to recruit. I see a lot of battles, recruiting rivalries there that are going to be fun to watch. I think they're going after a lot of the same kids, and they're all going to be really, really talented. So it's going to be fun to see it this summer, and then especially maybe in a year. Go here. Tennessee's a program I've talked about a lot, and they are there every year now, but they've really climbed. Mizzou last year with a really strong class. Asia Harvey, they brought in an All-American. Baylor, man, and I think that makes for a natural rivalry with Tennessee, Mizzou, and Baylor. And then IU and Purdue, but I think the same thing. I think they could be matched up with like Michigan State. I think you could move Michigan State right here, okay, and have them with that rivalry. Are they competing with some of the same athletes with Purdue and Indiana? They're in that region. They could be battling, right? It depends on their talent base. Indiana has made such a jump in the last couple of years. And now they're just trying to get those wins on the court in the regular season to have that pay off. They have that great class coming next year. SMU, right? They had the year last year with the transfers. Now they're trying to get it done with the high school recruits, bring in 1, 2, 3 of them to mix with another strong transfer class that they brought in. The Dallas area, great place to pull a couple high school recruits from. So I think with them, it's deciding what are they going to be. Do they only need to get one or two high school prospects a year, right? What kind of program are they going to be? And who are their rivalries going to be in the prep recruiting area? Creighton, and I love this. I just tried thinking of who their battles have been with, and this is not meant disrespectfully at all. I don't know if it's a compliment or what, but I'm trying to think who they've really battled with recruiting wise, right? Because in the home state, it's not like you're going up against Nebraska, right? They're not battling Nebraska for recruits. They don't really battle Marquette, their conference rival. But I don't think it's not like them and Minnesota are going up against each other. In the region, you have a lot of Summit League teams. So I don't think USD and Northern Iowa. I don't think Iowa State. I don't think Iowa are rivals. So I just think up till now, they've done an amazing job evaluating talent, and they've done an amazing job knowing what's fit their system, developing it, and getting those girls, their athletes, to play up to their complete potential, competing, and literally getting the most out of their athletes and getting the perfect athletes. And then last year, bringing in the right transfers to fit that team. And I just couldn't think back to recruiting rivalries they've really had with anybody consistently. Now, I will say that this year, I do think this year they're going to jump in to some bigger recruiting battles. I think they're going after a higher level of athlete, and I don't know if that gets them here. But I see them starting to just compete with some larger schools for better athletes. And Brian has always been amazing at sticking up for his program. Coach, I do not mean that disrespectful. What you guys have done, you have gotten yourselves into this conversation, right? And maybe Kansas is still shrink them down a little bit, right? And you're here, but I think that's a rivalry. This could be a rivalry, but Creighton is in that conversation. And I think, like we talked about last year, they won the matches. That Texas win got them on the map. So now it can pay off in recruiting. And bringing Izzy in, I tweeted about it. I think that's an amazing move. And she's going to bring even more clout to them recruiting. All right. And so that's our red level. And we'll move on down here. And these are programs, again, they're bunched together. And on our orange level, they're moving up and down. And I don't know. They're just more bunched based on geographic and regional on what I've seen. And I've talked about it. Now, Vandy is a program I've talked a lot about, and we just put out an article on the website that we talked about 2 years ago, their very first class. I think for sure that was a red level. Heck, it almost bordered on silver. Okay. They had a smaller class last year. Their main need was their setter. They locked down their setter, but they also were battling with Auburn for a couple of prospects, right? And Auburn actually won a couple battles with them, right? And Auburn is more an orange level program. Now, having the team, I think, helps them. It helps them a ton to now have the product. But where are they at? Okay. And then LSU battles with Auburn. Georgia made a jump, right? Georgia looked like they were more here last year, but then there's been times they're consistently more of an orange level program. Okay. BYU. Okay. You get 2 Under Armour All-Americans in a class, Sully Davis, who the MVP. Yeah, you're there. Heck, you're almost a silver level program, right? But then you have more of a regional class. You're here. Now, when Sully and her class hit the court, and we're talking, for sure, Sweet 16 caliber team. I love what Utah is doing as well with some of their regional athletes. They just haven't recruited on a national level yet to get up into, the red, the silver. But those two definitely have a recruiting rivalry in the upper Northwest. Okay. San Diego was another school. They had Laura Eichert last year. Whether you've heard of her or not, she is amazing. And she got looked at by programs up in here. That was a steal for San Diego. They also have some definite orange, red level athletes. So they bought back and forth. I don't know. I would say their rivalries would probably be more, get you guys out of here. Conference, San Diego, maybe Arizona State, Arizona, Colorado State. TCU, Houston, Georgia Tech doesn't really belong in there as far as a rivalry, but it has big time rivalry, right? And then is Baylor a rival with them? Yeah, in-state regional rivalry. But Houston, I think, definitely can go up. There's times they probably battle with A&M, right? It depends how big of a class they need. And they're definitely talent in the Houston, Dallas area, especially in last year's 2026 class. And so what we need is it's looking at one of these 4 SEC schools, right, to bust out and take a jump, right? And that's probably what they're looking for, is to bust out. We talked with Tanya from LSU, like, we need to make a move. This feels like the year our program takes a jump. Okay, it's taking a jump there and maybe doing what a Mizzou or Tennessee did. Okay, can they take a jump and then all of a sudden they're competing here, right? So now their rivals are A&M, Tennessee, Mizzou, right? That's a huge deal that now they're competing with those schools. Okay, vice versa. They stay down. Is that Vandy now, right? First season, maybe they get a big signature win. They upset somebody in year 1, and now they're here consistently, and maybe they beat A&M in year 1. Okay, they use that, and now they're competing with A&M for some recruits next year, right? Same thing. Okay, so those are the teams there that are looking in those conferences to bust out. I've talked a lot about Arizona and Arizona State, where they're at, and the rise of talent in the Phoenix area. And I know those coaches are trying to establish roots and it going there. Sometimes it doesn't happen. They've done a great job with JJ's first 2 years. And so what they're doing is working. You just always know you want to get many hometown kids if you can with talent. It just always helps in the stands. Oregon, we talked about with the new staff. Hey, Dewey can win, and that was a crazy situation. I've seen them at many select camps on the road trying to get established in the Big Ten. Be interesting to see just what they do. and what plan of attack that they take. And you coach the team you're given, you recruit the area and the situation that you're given. And so interested just to see, I don't know, that staff just would have been following on social media and talking with other coaches. And so interested to see how they attack it. They brought in some foreign players, some transfers, get into year one and establish the program. And we'll see. Duke has got that great 25 class for them. Just stepped on campus. Looked like they had another good select camp talent-wise. And that ACC, right, that second level of the ACC, Carolina, NC State, right, Virginia, Florida State, Notre Dame, again, looking to take a step just like we talked about here. Right? You're taking a step up with SMU. Okay. SMU made the huge jump last year with their transfers. We talked about the talent in the state of North Carolina. 5 legit Power 4 teams this year, or prospects this year. If you're North Carolina, just volleyball fan, I get it. And it's not the coach's fault. It is not. I've been a Minnesota basketball fan. I've been a Minnesota football fan my whole life. And you scream at the TV, and those linebackers go to Ohio State every year, and those big hog offensive linemen go to Wisconsin. And Chet Holmgren went to Gonzaga, and point guards went to Duke. I get it. And you just figure out what it takes to keep your home state talent in state, right? Like, what does it take to make them stay home and make that a priority? Sometimes it just doesn't happen, right? And coaches, I get it. You're trying and you're trying. I don't know, man. That's what makes college sports. Like, what does it take to make this a destination? But I also don't always believe it just, hey, there's nothing we can do about it. Somebody figured it out one time, right? Somebody figured out how to make it, right? Nebraska 30 years ago figured out how to make their athletes want to stay home. Wisconsin figured out a way. Make their kids want to stay home. I get it. It's tough. It doesn't happen in a day, but man, 30 years of heartbreak from a Minnesota basketball and football fan. I sense it when your great kids leave. It hurts. But going out this last row, Alabama, like what their staff's doing. I heard they have a very talented prospect camp coming up, and I like it. I tweeted about it earlier. Hardworking staff, the talent's better. Look for big things. I look for a big class there. My guy Jake Burrow, right? Another chance after, they were let go at Michigan State. Love what he did. Oklahoma, at Michigan State. And I was at Alabama. That's the coaching grind, man. And he's hitting the ground running with that staff and works hard. Ole Miss, I talked about them at the end of last year. I liked what their program was doing. I liked what they did in the tournament. Just felt like they're on the uptick, and they're going. North Carolina, they made a run. Arizona, these are a lot of teams here, right, that they're either coming or a little bit stagnant. NC State now, assistant coach taking over. Cincinnati, new coach Dayton has always been one of the best in major programs in the country. Cal, newer coach. Ohio State, Michigan, that's a couple programs that you just would think more of in the Big Ten, and hopefully they can get her going. Marquette, new coaching staff, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Rice, again, they are in battles, even with their crew here, right? With their recruit here. Let's just look at that. I mean, yeah, those 4 to contend with right in your backyard, and that's not even talking about Texas A&M, right? And then, we got these guys up here. There's just a lot of great volleyball there, a lot of great prospects. There's a lot of great volleyball. And so Virginia, Florida State, Notre Dame, that ACC, just looking for another 1 or 2 teams to move up to that next level to get with Louisville, Pitt, Louisville, Pitt, Stanford, and make another jump in the conference. And so I get it. Whenever you're not up here, those programs, I agree, disagree. This is just what I've looked at. Our 3 years from who people are getting at camp. I know we don't get all the camp info. A lot of it comes from our player profiles, just athletes updating us like, hey, here's where I'm going to camp, or what we see on our athletes posting on their Instagram and us updating their profiles, and them checking in. A lot of athletes just check in with us. Hey, here's what I did at camp. Here's what I really liked. Or we do a survey with all the classes after they commit, and just, hey, even though you chose here, what did you think about your other schools? And just taking input on what they on what they thought, and trying to collect more information and taking feedback the best that we can get it. Not scientific, but just my study of this stuff for the last 3-4 years. And like I tell coaches, there's an easy way, I think, to move up, and that's go beat somebody for a recruit, right? If it's down to, Arizona State and Florida, Arizona State beats them, then next year, guess what? You'll be there and they'll drop down. And that's just an easy way to do it, is when it comes down to head-to-head, beat them. And that's really the easiest way. And then the stuff doesn't matter, and then you don't care anyways. But it's just kind of the easiest way that we match these two up. And so we look at silver to reddish recruits and where they're kind of going to school. And that's how we put together the recruiting classes. And so we look at that, and I thank you for your time on this. We're going to have a lot more. Maybe this is educational, maybe it wasn't, but this is what a nerd like me does. And they sit home and they study this stuff and try and predict and see how close we were. So June's coming. Athletes, continue to do your homework, ask your questions, work with your recruiting coordinator, your club coaches, wherever you're looking at going to school. Ask as many athletes as you can, get second, get third opinions, and make some great decisions. And coaches, keep battling to make your programs better. And fans, right, fight to make your program the best that it can be. But I'm Darren Tipton with VB Adrenaline Podcast, and we'll be back for more very soon. Take care, everybody.